In this edition of Southern Newsweek, an information roadshow explains the details of the TPPA despite opposition from critics. Mud tanks in South Dunedin get a pre-winter clean in an effort to reassure residents. And the brutal effects of dangerous driving are put on show for hundreds of teenagers from around the region. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. The conversation around the recently signed Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement continued in Dunedin recently. Around 40 people attended an information roadshow organised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, but the session wasn't without its critics.
Breaking down a complex and controversial text, this information roadshow aims to shed some much requested light on the recently signed Trans-Pacific Partnership. The nationwide tour organised by the government seeks to publicly expose the agreement and what it's not.
We're explaining the whole of the agreement, the important opportunities it will present for New Zealand businesses, for exporters of goods and services, for investors, but we're also explaining the outcomes where people had concerns.
Around 40 people gathered for the day-long roadshow representing the public and business communities. For one Member of Parliament, it was a chance to represent her constituents and highlight ways the agreement could negatively affect them.
In Dunedin, we lost Hillside to an overseas contract. We know the costs in this city from poor decision making where New Zealand businesses are not treated on an equal footing, if you like, in terms of the benefit that New Zealand businesses provide to the New Zealand economy. And that's a concern if that kind of thing is not being addressed in these conversations.
While the TPP has been signed by the government, it's still yet to be ratified in Parliament. The prolonged nature of passing the free trade agreement leaves room for local protesters to make their opinions known.
We wanted to get out here and provide people with alternative information because we don't think they're getting the real information, and there we think they're just getting the spin. We want to make sure that people need access to the alternative views and are as informed as possible.
Protesters say there's been a lack of engagement with the public about the roadshow and the TPP itself. But Walker says there's a good reason why information's being spread now.
Before you've got a deal, you haven't actually got the deal, so you can't explain what the deal is. So now that the deal is there, we're taking this opportunity early in the piece because the parliamentary consideration is still underway, but to come out and explain so that people know about the agreement.
He's confident the roadshow will also help businesses to prepare for the agreement coming into force. That's expected to happen in 2 years, allowing time for all 12 countries to examine and improve its contents. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local resident is helping to ensure the Dunedin City Council follows through on a promise to tackle erosion at Middle Beach. He's raised concerns over delays to proposed work during the council's latest Community and Environment Committee meeting. But whether it's a case of inaction or a lack of reporting has yet to be seen.
Closed to the public. The lack of progress in addressing ongoing sand dune erosion at Middle Beach is causing concern among residents. The Dunedin City Council has been planning a short-term fix for several months, and one local's hoping to speed up the process.
When we discovered that there was an updated Tonkin and Taylor report that was recommending spend $460,000 on repairing the sand sloughs with better ones, and fixing and repairing the Reno mattresses, extending them down further to Sinclair. I just wanted to check that progress was being made.
In February, council staff estimated the proposed work would be complete in mid-June. It's that deadline Weggery's trying to hold the council to, and he's happy councillors and staff are taking his thoughts seriously.
I think I've started a process with them to try and work out ways that they can get regular updates on other issues, like South Dunedin, what are we doing there? And I think that this is going to help council and staff come together and work together a lot better, perhaps, as it has been in the past.
Winter storms last year battered Middle Beach, adding to the already well-established erosion problems. While Weggery is confident the council's finally getting on with solving the issue, he says the public needs to be kept in the loop.
It's important in an open, transparent city like ours that everybody keeps informed, because there's some real nervous people out there who face the beach.
The council's still committed to doing the work and is sharing updates publicly through the St Clair Action Group. It's hoped that as work gets underway ahead of winter, the information people want and need will become more readily available. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
The Dunedin City Council has contracted a full clean-out of all mud tanks in and around South Dunedin. Over the next month, City Care staff are inspecting and emptying more than 1,500 tanks. The project's aimed at reassuring residents ahead of wet winter months.
Sucking out the sediment. These City Care contractors are hard at work completing a thorough clean-out of all the mud tanks in and around South Dunedin. The Dunedin City Council project is aimed at gaining the confidence of the area's ratepayers ahead of winter.
This is an opportunity, given the level of confidence that South Dunedin or residents in South Dunedin has, to reassure them that that the tanks are in the best condition they can be for this particular season.
South Dunedin was one of the hardest hit areas in last June's flooding, and council staff want to avoid that happening again. McCabe says cleaning out the tanks will be beneficial for residents in the area, and staff will continue to monitor the infrastructure closely in coming months.
At this stage, it's about maintaining the asset and to ensure that it's functioning and functioning well moving into the winter season.
For this project, the council opted not to use its regular maintenance contractor, Fulton Hogan, which maintains tanks throughout the rest of the city. McCabe says the change to City Care came down to a matter of the firm's ability to gather much needed asset information.
City Care were brought in to assist us with the information side of it, the information gathering side of it, and also because they have a resource which they could bring in at short notice, which our regular contractor may have struggled to do.
Council staff will analyse the information before re-tendering the maintenance contract at the end of the year. All things going to plan, the cleaning work scheduled to be completed in a few weeks. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
The family of a local war veteran has gathered to celebrate his 100th birthday. The Dunedin RSA was invited along to make a special presentation, and the event gave those present a chance to learn more about a long life to date.
Celebrating a century. Surrounded by his friends and family, local RSA member Arthur Cook turned 100 years old at the weekend. His son Russell Cook travelled from Australia to help mark the occasion and learn more about his father's long life.
There are lots of stories about some of the chivalrous things that he did as a young fellow. He absolutely loved football. He used to play for the Maris brothers in Invercargill when he was a kid, and I remember him telling me frequently how because it was between the First and Second World War, they used to play footy with kerosene tins and bare feet, which was something that I couldn't comprehend.
Cook Sr. was born in 1916 to a family of 7 girls. In his mid-20s, like many others his age, he joined the military and fought in the Second World War.
He spent most of his time in North Africa and Egypt and in that sort of region. He came home because he was fairly badly wounded. And I don't know when he came home, but I was born in 1946, so that gives you some clues.
After the war, he moved to Dunedin, got married and has been a local ever since, working as a tinsmith at the Hillside Workshops until his retirement. While the centenarian is now at a rest home, his son says it's been amazing to see how independent he remained for such a long time.
Up until 4 years ago, and it's in itself is a mammoth thing, he looked after himself in our family home in Buccleuch Street. Well, I don't know if you know Buccleuch Street, but it's like a goat track.
Cook Jr. isn't the only one who travelled for the occasion, with 1 granddaughter and 3 great-grandchildren also in attendance. It was about showing their appreciation of all Cook Sr. has achieved in his time. The RSA also presented him with a life membership. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
Hundreds of teenagers from around Otago are having some hard-hitting messages about road safety driven home to them. Groups of high school students have been taking part in a road safety expo at the Eka Centre, and it's hoped a new interactive approach will help the safer driving message stick.
Showing the carnage of a crash. Local high school students are taking part in a road safety expo, covering topics such as the physics of a car crash, the human cost and modified vehicles. The annual event has changed this year in the hope of getting youth more hands-on with what's being discussed.
We are being more interactive about the expo. We want the kids to work out strategies themselves to keep themselves safe. NZTA don't use shock tactics anymore. We want the kids to understand how to work out how to make wise decisions.
The expo is not open to the public. It's aimed at making sure new drivers understand that their actions or inactions can affect the lives of other road users. Organisers hope that by giving pupils the freedom to lead the conversation, they'll be more likely to remember valuable lessons.
Young people today are very wise, well, maybe not always wise, but they're intelligent. They can work out what they should be doing or not. It's just thinking of the consequences, giving them the right information and letting them choose what they should be doing.
More than 1,700 students from 17 high schools are attending the expo over the next 3 days. It's made possible thanks to help from emergency services staff who make the lessons more realistic.
They're the ones that are out there mopping up all of the mess, so they want to try and help stop it. And they've got families too. We've all got families. We want to keep all our kids safe on the road.
These Year 11 students are taking part in the first of the programme's 3 stages. Over the next 2 years, they'll learn defensive driving as well as lessons around drinking and taking drugs before getting behind the wheel. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, high school students gather for a regional debating contest, and cleaning up after taggers is getting special attention from a local group. Welcome back. More than 60 high school students are in the city formulating their best arguments on a range of topics. They're all vying for glory in this year's Russell McVeigh Otago Southland Regional Debating Championship. And there's plenty of incentive to help them argue their way to a win.
Utilising every minute they have, high school students from around the Lower South Island are preparing for their first debate in this year's regional championship. It's just the start of what's set to be a busy couple of days for competitors and organisers alike.
What we do is we have 5 rounds, where in each round we have a different motion or thing that the teams will argue. Both teams have about half an hour to prep. They go up against each other after that and basically just have a yarn.
Instead of being eliminated if they lose, the 22 teams are awarded a score for each debate they take part in. At the end of the 5th debate, the highest scoring team will face off until a winner is crowned.
That team gets to go up to Nationals in Wellington in May, I believe, and they get to go up against, well, the team that gets picked from every other region in the country, because, I mean, everything from here all the way up to Northland gets a team. They then battle it out in a tournament much like this. The team from that wins out gets to go to the Worlds competition at the end of the year, I believe it's September.
This year's turnout is about average for the competition, with more than 60 individuals taking part. Doughty says it's good to see so many young people getting into the activity and potentially reaping the benefits.
I'm a huge fan of debating. I've been debating for about 4 years now. I think it's just a great way to sort of build a lot of confidence in a lot of people. I used to be quite a shy individual, but now here I am giving a chat on telly. But no, I find it's really good for just getting people to get together and just really learning about the world and having good discussions about what really matters.
Over the next 2 days, the teams will tackle several topics from American politics to taxation policy. They'll all be hoping to argue their way to the next level of competition happening later this year. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local mountain biking race has been added as a qualifying event for an international contest. The Urge 3 Peaks Enduro has now formally linked to the Enduro World Series, and its promotion is bringing benefits to the city as well as resident riders.
A key part of the global mountain biking calendar, the Urge 3 Peaks Enduro has just been announced as a qualifying event for an international World Mountain Biking Series.
So this year, the Enduro World Series has announced that our Urge 3 Peaks Enduro event here in Dunedin will be part as a qualifier for an EWFS World Cup event, so riders can now come and earn points so that they can qualify to race overseas.
The Enduro World Series is a high-calibre mountain biking event that comprises some of the best riders from around the world. To be a part of the tournament, mountain bikers chase a circuit of qualifying events to rack up points. 12 Dunedin riders follow the series, and now they have a qualifier to compete in locally that'll give them a leg up.
There'll be so many more riders will turn up to this event, and I think just being able to put yourself against other World Cup riders and on your own local stage will really give you that sort of edge to go overseas.
Hundreds of out-of-towners are expected to visit Dunedin to gain points in the qualifier at the end of the year. The recent announcement also takes some of the demand off local riders in terms of having to travel overseas to compete. Mountain Biking Otago members say the race's newfound status will help raise Dunedin's profile.
I think having all those other riders here is going to mean that they're going to head back home and they're going to tell their friends about it, and I think Dunedin, it's really grown at the moment as a biking sort of place to come and ride, and it's just been great if we can get more people here.
Urge Three Peaks Enduro joins Rotorua's Giant Tower Enduro as the second New Zealand race to be used as a qualifier for the World Series. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
Resources are being given to the public in an effort to clean up graffiti around the city. Graffiti Free Week has just drawn to a close and Keep Dunedin Beautiful has been getting residents involved. But there are other plans in mind for problem taggers.
Looking over local problem areas, Keep Dunedin Beautiful is trying to get residents on board with a project aiming to tackle the city's tagging problem. It's part of the nationwide Graffiti Free Week.
This week is kind of a specific week where we're trying to raise lots of awareness about graffiti issues in the places that we do live and provide tools and education about ways that people can remove that themselves or talk to the right people about getting it removed so that we don't have a graffiti problem in the cities.
Keep Dunedin Beautiful has put together kits for residents to use in the fight against graffiti. The Dunedin City Council only removes tags in public spaces, so there's a push to help residents who've been targeted.
The kit includes things like paintbrushes, rollers, high-vis vests, vouchers for cheap or free paint from Resine, and some kind of t-shirts and Keep New Zealand Beautiful merchandise like that. So it's a really awesome resource.
Volunteers often clean up vandalised walls around the city. Muston says heritage buildings and new developments are commonly targeted and they can be the hardest to remove tags from. She says it doesn't matter whether graffiti's artistic or designed to offend if it's not consented.
We understand that stencils and other types of street art add a huge amount of vibrancy to the city. So it's kind of treating those two things. The area that we're most interested in is kind of prevention, and if we can access those young people who are doing the tagging and saying, hey, we've got another creative outlet for you, then we'd love that.
Residents can contact Keep Dunedin Beautiful if they are wanting a graffiti cleaning kit. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, staff at a local pet store turn to extreme sports to raise money, and we meet some of the new arts fellows making Dunedin their home. Welcome back. A group of pet store staff are getting stuck into a fundraiser with an extreme twist. For the next few weeks, they're aiming to raise as much money as they can for the local branch of the SPCA. But it's not just the welfare organisation that's set to benefit.
Brainstorming fundraising ideas. Staff at Animal Attraction are doing their bit to raise money for the Otago SPCA. They're taking part in the region's first Jump to the Rescue initiative, where every $750 raised earns a free skydive.
It's just something we've always wanted to do. It's a really good cause as well, so we thought it would be something fun, something a bit different, help promote the business at the same time.
If enough money is raised in time, selected staff will get to experience a 12,000-foot tandem skydive in either Wanaka or Queenstown. But with just 3 weeks until the fundraising deadline, the team's yet to crack the base target required to jump.
We're probably going to have to push it a bit more. I'm not sure what the boss has got planned, but probably get out and about and start getting some people to support us.
All the money raised locally for the SPCA will go towards helping neglected and abandoned animals in Otago. It's a cause that pet store staff are keen to continue their support of.
We've done things like take on like rescue puppies and things and have them in store so people can come and see if they want to adopt them, things like that. And then just generally having the donation boxes on the counter. The
potential thrill seekers have until the 1st of April to raise the required amount. The official jump day in Queenstown and Wanaka is set down for the following week. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local shoemaker is giving residents the chance to bring old footwear back to life through a series of public workshops. The Frankenfoot classes have allowed adults and children to experiment with upcycle techniques, and some freaky footwear has been the result.
Putting their best foot forward, these residents are giving their footwear a whole new life as part of a local shoemaking workshop.
I'm thinking about doing upcycling shoe workshops for a while, and then I was searching for a theme and I thought, well, Frankenstein is the ultimate upcycling theme, so I came up with Frankenfoot.
Participants are being encouraged to spruce up old shoes and give them an extra twist. They've been using a range of suppliers to redesign anything from sports shoes to Ugg boots. The concept is one of several events associated with this year's Fringe Festival.
Because it's a bit of a quirky theme, we're encouraging people to make experimental shoes that they don't necessarily have to wear, which is a perfect match with the Fringe Festival.
But the Frankenstein theme doesn't apply to just the footwear. This nearly 100-year-old industrial machine has helped the Frankenfoot workshop really come to life. Clifton was gifted the sewing machine and upcycled it to help with their shoemaking.
It's from Invercargill. It arrived in the back of a boot. Someone just dropped it off to my house because they knew that I wanted one. I think it's been dropped a couple of times. It's not in perfect condition, but I've tried to treat it well and repair it and bring it back to life.
This is the first time the workshops have been a part of the Fringe Festival. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
A new batch of University Arts Fellows are being given time and resources to pursue their creative ideas. 5 fellows from all over New Zealand were recently welcomed to the city at a presentation in the Hocken Library, and they're already thinking about what they'll achieve.
Posing in celebration of their success, these fellowship recipients are revelling in their recent feat after receiving scholarships in their artistic fields. A ceremony was held yesterday evening to welcome them to the city.
I'm this year's Robert Burns Fellow at the University of Otago, and I am the first person of Samoan descent to get the fellowship, so I'm really excited about that. But also really excited because my white side, my grandmother was from Scotland, Rotiferi in Dundee, and I know she would have really loved me taking this up.
5 fellowships are given out for literature, music, dance, children's books and fine arts. Each scholarship enables the fellows to stay on campus for up to a year with all expenses paid.
The freedom just to write whatever you want to write for a whole year and not have to worry about doing jobs you might not want to do in order to eat. You're supported for a whole year just to practice your art, and that's a real gift for any artist.
The recipients will be using the time to create, write and publish pieces in their artistic avenues. One of the fellows hopes to use this year to experiment with music and create different sounds.
Interest of mine is to transcribe using technology in my ear things from my everyday life, things like a tui song or a water dripping into a glass or some kind of speech and reconfigure it for instruments.
These fellows will go on to join notable past recipients such as Janet Frame, James K. Baxter and Ralph Hotere. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
And finally, more than 1,000 runners and walkers took to the streets for the annual Stadium to Surf event recently. This year's races have expanded with more options added to include people of all ages and abilities. And some of the money raised is going into children's sports.
Taking things in their stride, these residents are taking part in this year's Stadium to Surf that's new and improved to be inclusive to all ages.
This was normally, traditionally, just a straight 10k event, but what we've thought is we've wanted to change things a bit this year and bring in a 5k and a 3k to bring in more children and families into the event.
The 1,400 competitors could choose whether to walk or run the 3, 5 or 10 kilometre paths to the sea. The day also promoted children's participation, with organisers including a dedicated play area. There were also $15,000 worth of spot prizes given away for people having a go.
It's more about fun. It's not that first prize gets $1,000 or anything like that. It's about participation, and then we have the sponsors throw in some spot prizes.
The event is made possible by Athletics Otago and Sport Otago. Sport Otago uses some of the funds raised through the event to put towards a youth program. Sporting Chance helps children to get on courts and fields when they otherwise can't afford it.
That's an organisation that Sport Otago administers, and that's for children who are entering sport, have difficulty paying registration fees or may need some support to buy shoes and boots.
Sport Otago has plans to grow the race locally to make it a big annual event for the city. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Remember to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or take a look at our website at dunedintv.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air. Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.